Hello everybody, this is Michael again, and I've come back with something a little different. I've decided to to review my collection of comic books. Yes, I'm quite the comic book collector, and I think some of these artists have inspired me to do what I do right now, but we're just gonna go through everything right now. This is part one. I'm going to show you my collection of stuff that is not Marvel or DC. Just the other stuff like Image Comics, Valiant, all the rest. Starting with this one. Yes, this one came out of a Nickelodeon magazine from October 2002. Next is SpongeBob Comics number 13. Now, I don't really like modern SpongeBob, but I think that the reason why I bought this issue is because it contained featured artwork from Al Jaffe. Al Jaffe was the one who did the what were they called again? The fold-ins from Mad Magazine. Did the Mad fold-ins. Things a guy does. This is from All American Comics, Straw Man number 3. It's kind of ridiculous. This is first issue of Decibel, which is a member of the Amazing Cow Heroes. It's part of a comic book series that Chick-fil-A started. It's like a league of super cows to get people to eat more chicken. It's ridiculous, but it's like hysterically ridiculous. I mean, it's just so funny. You know, how ridiculous it gets. It's like they go to such big extremes to save the cows. This is a small little comic that I think is an advertisement for a video game called Advent Rising, a number 1 collector's issue. Okay, this comes to us from Archaea Comics. I have The Last Broadcast, number 5, and number 6. Of this 7-part series. It's gonna take a while for me to, to get all the rest, so I'll know what's going on. This comes to us from Archie Comics, unfortunately. Oddly. Mega Man number 18. And 22. Sonic Universe issue number 55, which actually kind of sucks. Any Sonic fans, I get you're probably going to be really mad at me, but this comic sucks. The dialogue, the story just seems to drag itself along. Aspen Comics, Shrugged number 1. These are 2 variant covers. I was lucky to get both of them. Fathom number 3. Executive Assistant Iris, number 2. Minefield, number 0. And number 6. I think I just mostly like read it so far from number 0. It is quite an interesting story, you know. I really like the artwork very much, you know. Sorry. I have trouble adjusting the... trying to rearrange the rest of my collection here. Soulfire, number 6. Dead Man's Run, number 0B. Big Bang Comics. Now, this looks like a reprint from some other decade, but apparently it doesn't show. It just says October 1994. Which is very odd. I mean, I think the comic itself seems to be a blatant rip-off of the Justice League. Sergio Aragonés Funnies, number 7. This is from Bongo Comics. I do like Sergio Aragonés very much. I mean, he's another Mad Magazine artist, but he really is actually funny, you know? I mean, like, he could turn, like, even the smallest, like, everyday situations and, like, just turn it around into something you would least expect. And, of course, I usually buy my comics in, like, little packs, like, 10 packs at Ollie's. And you have no idea what you're going to get first thing you open them, so... Oddly, I started getting Simpsons comics, because, you know, they're associated with Bongo. Bart Simpson, number 86. Original Simpsons comics, number 206. Simpsons Illustrated, number 9. And Treehouse of Horror, number 20. And a spin-off, Kang and Kodos, number 1. I think it's a one-hit. I think it's a one-shot. Boom Comics now. This is Hypernaturals, number 2. Revelations, number 5 of 6. The artist here is named Huberto Ramos. I first heard about this guy reading Spider-Man comics. I looked through all the different artists in my Spider-Man comics, and one of them was Huberto Ramos, and you know, I really do like the sort of jagged outline that he gives his characters. You know, his style is, I find it very unique at times. Okay, CGE Comics has Tales from the Realm, number 2. Yeah, all these different companies, I forgot to mention, all these, like, comic book companies I'm putting together in alphabetical order. Everything else, you know, in between companies is in order of date. Comico has Robotech New Generation number 6. Robotech Masters number 12. Yeah, I think only my mom knows about Robotech. Cross-Gen Comics. I have the first, number 17. Crystal Comics. Eagle number 3. Okay, now we're going to move on to the D's. Devil's Due Publishing. Devil's Due. Sheena, Queen of the Jungle, which I think is issue number 0. Zen, Intergalactic Ninja, number 0. You know, it's cool that you know that they have these comic book illustrations from, like they're using acrylic paintings to illustrate them. The Worlds of Dungeons and Dragons. I think it's number 3. Disney Comics. I think the only Disney comic I have, which is oddly distributed by Marvel, right now, distributed by Marvel. It's probably a reprint from even longer back. Donald Duck, number 288. Dynamite Comics. Battlestar Galactica, number 10. I mean, no, not 10. 0. Sorry, brain fart. And number 2. Now to the E's. I have Eclipse Comics. This one is Laser Eraser and Press Button, number 4. Adolescent Radioactive Black Belt Hamsters, number 3. Get it? Instead of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, these are Adolescent Radioactive Black Belt Hamsters. Crossfire and Rainbow, number 3 of 4. Scout, number 12. Elf Thing, number 1. The Dreamery, number 12. You know, I do like the Dreamery. The Dreamery is like, it's like a collection of all these different stories. Yeah, it's like a whole bunch of stories that are illustrated, each one by different artists. You know, and I think some comic book companies should do that more often. Okay, now to the F's. First Comics. Shatter, number 6. I really hate the artwork in these Shatter comics. The inking seems very bland, and when it comes to like shading and adding some color, they take the easy way out and just like, I think they really go way too out. They really go all out with the pixelating. And the dialogue balloons seem very robotic, you know? I don't know if they use this sort of like computer font on purpose, but Shatter isn't completely the thing for me. Fried Pie Comics. Hero's Vengeance. Yeah, I think Heroes is one of my favorite shows, and I can tell, you know, they didn't put much detail in his face, but this is obviously Noah Bennett. I mean, this Heroes Vengeance comic doesn't really say very much, you know, about all the other characters. It just seems like more sort of a small prologue about that Mexican wrestler guy, you know, in Heroes Reborn. Not really completely important, but artwork's okay. Harvey Comics. I have Richie Rich and Little Audrey. I think this is a Richie Rich number 9. But, you know, it's not like completely old. It dates back, I think, somewhere in the 80s or 90s. But still, I think it's something I should consider double bagging. Heavy Hitters Epic Comics. The Terrorists, number 4. Terrorists. It's like an A instead of an O. And the artwork here is done by what I think is watercolor. You know, with a little ink here and there for shadow. Quite interesting. Quite interesting. Homage Comics. Leave It to Chance, number 12. Hyperworks Comics. I have Deity, number 1. Okay, now we get to the eyes. IDW Comics. This is just a little small comic used to advertise this horror movie, called 30 Days of Night. And the artwork is very extremely sloppy, but, you know, but very gruesome, you know? It's like necessarily sloppy. The Other Dead, number 6. This is a reprint from the 80s. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, number 3. The Illegitimates, number 3. Sinister and Dexter, number 3. And The X-Files, number 9. I think that's a photo and not a digital painting. Let me check. Yep, it's real. A photo. Gee whiz. Okay, now we get to Image Comics. Image Comics. This is like sort of a crossover with Image and Valiant. A Deathmate. Deathmate number, I think. Weird, doesn't say. You know, I think both Valiant and Image, I do give them credit for the effort they put into coloring their comics, you know? They especially like around these 90s Image and Valiant comics, they color in their inked drawings with watercolor. And seeing how often they do it, and you know how well it comes out, is very impressive. Now these two are reprints from 1963. Mystery Incorporated, number 1. And no, it's not Scooby-Doo, it's these other guys, which are obviously, I think, are a ripoff of the Fantastic Four. No One Escapes the Fury, number 2. Or unless this is book 1 and book 2 of this series of reprints. But what is funny, I like the back of these reprinted comics. They have like these little joke advertisements. Shamed by you English? You can speak soon and write like a graduate college if me let you help for a day of 15 minutes. Oh boy, you're gonna have a really hard time learning English now. Gen 13, number 6. Shadowhawk, number 2. Death Blow, number 1. Which is also Cybernary number 1. The Max, number 1, which I actually saw Bob's show review. You know, his review his review video of this comic book. And it's a good thing I actually, you know, I read it before watching the review, because oh man, what would I do without Bob's show to remind me how ridiculous this comic really is? Yeah, I mean, just first issue, they don't, you know, they cease to explain what the heck is even going on. I mean, I don't know if they explain it in later issues or not, but it's just one of those things. You already know first issue, you're just in for total crap. Shadowhawk 2, number 2. Images of Shadowhawk, number 1. And what I really hate about this comic series, I do not like the artist here. I think he's the same one who did this comic called Trencher. I don't have any of the comics, but Trencher, this artist, I forget his name. His style is terrible. I mean, I don't know whether to blame this artist for for making it just a little too sloppy for us to see what is going on, or should I blame the colorist for not adding enough texture or detail? You know, because you could hardly see what is going on. It's just a jumble. Just a jumble of scribbles and color. I do not like it at all. I don't care for that. Wildcats, number 4. Bloodstrike, number 6. Savage Dragon, number 3 and 7. I really love this Savage Dragon comics because even though I only have like 2 issues of it, and I can't really pay much attention to the story because I don't know what's going on. But the action is just unbelievable. I mean, they could have like these big fights that take up entire pages. Which is actually a pretty good style for comics, if you're planning to write a short story. Stormwatch, number 1, number 6, number 7, 32, 33, Stormwatch Reboot, number 1. Team 1 Stormwatch, number 1. Prophet, number 7. The Birth of Weapon Zero, Part 2. Strike Force, number 7. Black Ops number 1. Regulators number 1. Section 0 number 2. Kid Supreme number 2. Now, I don't hate this artist's detail, but he needs a couple lessons in drawing muscles for a kid character, because it almost looks like this kid's got man boobs or something, you know? He really, I mean, he really adds the extra detail in the man boobs for all it's worth. It's very distracting. Youngblood Strike File number 1. Youngblood number 4. The Gen 13 Yearbook 1997 number 1. This isn't really a comic, but this is like a sort of a yearbook for I guess the characters in Gen 13, which I should really find some more issues of, so I'll know who they are. Rising Stars number 2. Rising Stars Voices of the Dead number 4. Micronauts number 3. Street Fighter number 4. I do like the special effect they added to the logo. Adds a little more value to it. Okay, this is one of their, I think one of their most recent that I have. Descender number 1. This artwork is hideous. I mean, some detail can be nice here and there, but sometimes the watercolor can get a little messy here and there. I mean, it's like an in-betweener. It gets really good, like they're really good with this watercolor, and add amazing detail. It's like you're really in this world, but in a completely different way, like through a different vision. And then the other half, it's just sloppy. It's just a mess, especially with this front cover. Okay, that's all the Image comics I have. And now for Impact Comics, number 1. Oh, number 1 of Legend of the Shield, which is obviously a rip-off of Captain America. It's like a Captain America rip-off. Shield number 6, number 9, number 12, and number 13. Okay, that's all my I comics. Now we're on to the only K I think I have is Garfield number 17. Mirage Studios, Prime Slime Tales number 2. Super Cops number 3 from Now Comics. Ocean Comics this is Street Fighter number 3 of 4. Pyramid Comics is Theon number 1, a 3-issue limited series.